Something is sitting at the bottom of the Baltic Sea that has broken the scientific instruments of every single team that has ever gotten close to it. Electronics die, compasses spin wildly, ROVs cut out, and whatever that thing is, it is 60 meters wide, sitting 90 meters underwater, has what looks like a staircase carved into its side, has a surface that divers describe as black and burnt, and leaves a 300-meter-long trail behind it on the seabed, as if something enormous came in at speed and slammed into the ocean floor. Scientists have been arguing about it for over a decade. A new generation of AI scanning tools has now been turned directly on it, and the results are not making things any simpler. In fact, they are raising questions that nobody has a clean answer for yet. And the Baltic Sea Anomaly is just the beginning, because it turns out the same technology that has been probing the depths of the Baltic has also been turned on the wreck of the Titanic, on the deepest trench on Earth, and on a sunken Roman city where emperors used to party. What AI is finding in all of these places is rewriting history in real time, and some of it is terrifying in the most thrilling way possible. Let us start with the thing that started all of this, the object at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. Because the full story of what has been found there, what it measures, what the divers actually saw when they touched it, and what the newest high-resolution scanning technology is showing is far more detailed and far stranger than what most people have heard. It was the summer of 2011. A Swedish treasure hunting team called Ocean X, led by Peter Lindberg and Dennis Asberg, was 9 days into an expedition in the Gulf of Bothnia, the frigid stretch of Baltic Sea between Sweden and Finland. They were tired, they were running out of time, and they decided to make one final sonar sweep on their way home. And that final sweep produced an image that would make the Ocean X team famous, spark a global debate that is still going on today, and draw the attention of geologists, marine archaeologists, conspiracy theorists, government agencies, and documentary filmmakers from all over the world. The circular, slab-like structure their sonar detected was sitting approximately 300 feet below the surface, measuring around 200 feet, or 60 meters in diameter. And it did not look like anything the Ocean X team had seen in years of Baltic Sea exploration. Its surface appeared to have unnatural straight edges and features, including what some describe as a staircase leading to the top. A 300-meter-long trench leads to the object, suggesting it might have slid into its current position. When the image went public, the internet did what the internet always does. It lost its mind. The grainy image of the broken circular structure at the bottom of the Baltic Sea resembled the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. That comparison spread everywhere. Forums lit up. News articles ran. The object became an overnight sensation, not just in Sweden, but globally. And the theories that people invented to explain it were spectacular. A crashed UFO, a Nazi secret weapon from World War II, a remnant of a pre-Ice Age civilization, a natural formation, the Baltic version of Atlantis. But here is what most of the coverage missed. Here is what makes this story genuinely worth spending time on rather than just dismissing as internet hype. The Ocean X team went back, and what the divers physically found when they descended 90 meters to the object is significantly harder to explain than a blurry sonar image. The expedition spent a day looking for the site by sonar, but their equipment mysteriously started to malfunction. After searching for several hours with frustrated crew members trying to get the equipment back online, they finally found the anomaly. 2 divers braved the cold, murky waters. They descended 90 meters without incident and were stunned by the size of the object. It measured 60 meters wide, 210 meters long, and 4 meters tall. Ridges and symmetrical lines covered its flat surface, and it had straight edges with some sections bearing sharp right angles. The diving team dusted sediment from the object and found that the surface was black. One diver said it looked burnt, black and burnt, sharp right angles, ridges and symmetrical lines. These are not the descriptions you typically get from a random pile of glacial rocks on the Baltic seabed. These are descriptions that sound architectural. And the equipment failure was not a one-time glitch. Within a radius of 200 meters around the stone disk, mysterious electrical interference suddenly began to disable the compasses and all the team's equipment. ROVs sent down to scan the formation lost power without explanation. This happened across multiple separate expeditions, with different equipment operated by different teams. That pattern is deeply strange. A natural rock formation does not interfere with electronics. Glacial erratics do not cause compass failures. And yet, every team that has gotten close to this object has reported the same thing. The closer you get, the less your instruments work. Later surveys using higher resolution multi-beam sonar, carried out during expeditions in 2025, gave a sharper, 3-dimensional picture of the seabed around the formation. According to reporting from that period, the newer scans still showed the rounded shape, but also revealed sediment layering beneath it, suggesting the object rests on top of the seafloor rather than growing out of bedrock. That detail is enormous, because if the object were a natural glacial formation, you would expect it to be part of the bedrock, an outcrop of the underlying geology. But if it rests on top of the sediment layer, it is something that settled onto the seafloor from somewhere else, something that arrived, and that changes every interpretation you have been applying to this object. During the summer of 2025, a new expedition combined multi-beam sonar with sub-bottom profiling, adding outside scientific partners to the traditionally treasure hunter-led project. Reports from that 2025 mission suggested the object sits on a sediment layer rather than being part of the bedrock itself, a detail that shapes how researchers interpret its origin. As of early 2026, no peer-reviewed institution has issued a formal classification, leaving the site technically unresolved despite the added data. Read that carefully. As of right now in 2026, with all of the technology available to modern science, with multiple expeditions worth of data, with geological samples, sonar readings, AI-enhanced scans, and sub-bottom profiling results sitting in researchers' hands, this object remains formally unclassified. The official scientific answer to the question of what the Baltic Sea Anomaly is still, we do not know. Now, here's where the story takes a turn that almost nobody is talking about, and it is the detail that changes the entire context of this mystery. In early 2024, an astonishing discovery shattered our understanding of ancient European history. Researchers led by Jacob Gearson published findings in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, detailing a massive 11,000-year-old artificial stone wall found entirely submerged in the western Baltic Sea. This incredible megastructure, stretching nearly 3,200 feet or 975 meters long, was constructed by Stone Age hunter-gatherers long before the region flooded. Let that land for a second. The Baltic Sea is not just a body of water, it is a flooded landscape. Thousands of years ago, the areas now covered by the Baltic were dry land inhabited by prehistoric human beings who built things, structures, walls, architecture. The discovery of a 975-meter-long man-made wall sitting 21 meters underwater in the Bay of Mecklenburg, published in one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world, proves beyond any doubt that the Baltic seabed contains ancient human construction. This is not speculation anymore. This is peer-reviewed science. Underwater archaeologist Andreas Olsson believes the Baltic Sea Anomaly is man-made. For Olsson, the object appeared cut or molded. This theory is not so far-fetched, given that in 2024, archaeologists discovered Europe's oldest man-made megastructure in the Bay of Mecklenburg in the Baltic Sea, a kilometer-long wall of 1,500 granite stones submerged at a depth of 21 meters. Supposedly, a Paleolithic community built it approximately 11,000 years ago. So we now know for a documented fact that Stone Age people built large stone structures in the Baltic region before the sea flooded. The question that researchers like Olsson are asking is whether the anomaly could be another such structure, older and larger than anything else yet found. The geological mainstream still says it is natural, but the mainstream also said there were no Stone Age man-made structures on the Baltic seabed until a peer-reviewed paper in PNAS proved them wrong. A 2024 study by Feldens, utilizing high-resolution multi-beam echo sounder bathymetry, mapped the complex glacial morphology of the Baltic Sea. The research confirmed that the seabed is littered with bizarre, naturally occurring moraines and deposited rock formations that can easily trick standard sonar equipment. The geological argument says these natural formations explain what we are seeing at the anomaly site. And it is a serious argument. Glacial erratics, moraines, and post-Ice Age rock deposits can produce shapes that look shockingly geometric to sonar. Low-resolution sonar in particular has a tendency to make natural features look engineered. But the people making that argument have to explain the black, apparently burnt surface. They have to explain the ridges and symmetrical lines that divers touched with their hands. They have to explain the sharp right angles. They have to explain why the object apparently sits on top of the sediment rather than growing out of the bedrock. And they have to explain the equipment failures that have now been reported by multiple independent teams on multiple separate dives, all of them experiencing the same thing within the same 200-meter radius of the same object. In 2025, the Society for UAP Studies announced support for a new scientific mission to investigate the anomaly with updated technology. This expedition plans to conduct multi-beam sonar mapping, sub-bottom profiling, environmental sampling, magnetic field measurements, and detailed photogrammetry. These tools will allow researchers to examine the internal composition, external geometry, and environmental properties of the formation. This mission represents the first opportunity to gather data capable of confirming whether the anomaly is natural, artificial, or entirely unknown. Magnetic field measurements. That is the detail that matters most in that list. Because if the anomaly is producing the electromagnetic interference that every team has reported, a magnetic field survey will detect it. If there is an anomalous magnetic signature associated with this object, it eliminates purely geological explanations. Rock does not generate magnetic fields strong enough to disable electronic equipment in a 200-meter radius. The results of that measurement program, when they are published, will be the most significant piece of new evidence this mystery has ever produced. Now let us talk about what AI-enhanced scanning has been doing in the rest of the world's oceans, because the Baltic is not the only place where this technology is rewriting what we thought we knew. 12,500 feet below the surface of the North Atlantic, sitting in the crushing darkness of the deep ocean, is the most famous shipwreck in history. The RMS Titanic struck an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. on April 14, 1912, and sank in less than 3 hours, taking more than 1,500 lives with it. For over a century, the wreck has sat on the seafloor deteriorating, visited by submersibles, photographed in fragments, studied in sections. But nobody had ever seen the whole ship at once, until now. A pair of remote-operated robots descended 12,500 feet over 3 weeks in 2022 to capture the Titanic on the North Atlantic Ocean floor. It is the largest underwater scanning project ever attempted, comprising 715,000 still images and hours of 4K footage, equivalent to 1.5 million MP3 songs and terabyte data. The result is a full-size 3D replica of the Titanic, whose level of detail is allowing researchers to glean new insights on the ship's final moments. What they found when they assembled all of that data into a complete picture rewrote the historical record in ways that matter. An open steam valve in the boiler room validates eyewitness accounts that the ship's engineers remained at their posts for more than 2 hours after impact, keeping the electricity on and allowing wireless distress signals to be sent. The 35 men may have saved hundreds of lives while sacrificing their own. Think about what that means. For 113 years, the story of the Titanic's engineers has been a legend passed down through survivor testimony. People said these men stayed at their posts. People said they kept the lights on while water rose around their feet. But it was always testimony, always the memory of survivors who were on the deck, not in the boiler room. Now the scan has found physical evidence. An open steam valve exactly where it would be if engineers were still operating the system at the moment the ship went under. 100 years of eyewitness testimony just got corroborated by a 3D scan. That is what AI-enhanced underwater archaeology can do. The digital scan also helps exonerate First Officer Murdoch, long accused of abandoning his post. The position of a lifeboat, David suggests his crew was preparing a launch moments before the starboard side was engulfed, corroborating testimony that Murdoch was swept away by the sea. For anyone who watched the 1997 James Cameron film, this is significant. Murdoch was depicted in that movie as a coward and a villain, a man who shot passengers and then turned the gun on himself. The filmmakers later apologized to Murdoch's family, but now the physical evidence from the scan backs up what the more generous historical accounts always said. Murdoch was at his post, launching a lifeboat, when the ocean took him. The man was doing his job until the sea made it impossible. Researchers also noticed for the first time that one of the Titanic's lifeboats was not deployed because it was blocked by a jammed metal piece. A jammed piece of metal. In the chaos of a sinking ship, in the dark, with the vessel listing and passengers panicking, one lifeboat that could have carried dozens of people sat unused because of a mechanical failure that nobody could fix in time. The scan found this, a piece of physical evidence that explains one small corner of why the death toll was as high as it was. Researchers also mapped 15 square miles of the ocean floor surrounding the sunken ship, which is scattered with the personal effects of passengers, including purses, gold coins, pocket watches, combs, and shoes. 15 square miles of debris, personal objects that belonged to real people, scattered across the dark Atlantic floor, preserved by the cold and the pressure. The scan mapped every piece. Historians are now working to connect those objects to specific passengers, turning scattered debris into individual human stories. A pocket watch that belonged to a specific man, a pair of shoes that belonged to a specific woman, a purse that a specific child was carrying. This is not just science. This is the recovery of lost human history made possible by technology that did not exist 10 years ago. Now go further down, further than the Titanic, further than any shipwreck. Go to the Mariana Trench, the deepest place on Earth, where the water column above you is nearly 7 miles of ocean pressing down with a force that would crush an unprotected human body instantly. In 2014, researchers recording ocean sounds in the Mariana Archipelago captured something that stopped marine scientists completely cold. A metallic moaning sound coming from the depths. It was unlike anything in the existing database of ocean noise. It did not have the structure of a whale song. It sounded mechanical, almost artificial, and it was coming from one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. Scientists named it the bio-twang. The sound was so unusual, so distinct, that identifying its source became a genuine scientific challenge. For years, the best anyone could say was that it was probably biological in origin, probably a whale species. but impossible to confirm without visual verification. Then researchers partnered with Google and fed the bio-twang recording into an AI system specifically designed to analyze and identify cetacean vocalizations. The AI processed the acoustic signature, matched it against its database of known whale calls and biological ocean sounds, and returned a positive identification. The source of the mysterious metallic moaning from the deepest ocean on Earth was Bride's whale, a species so nomadic and wide-ranging that it is genuinely difficult to study. The whale's call had been bouncing off the walls of the trench, traveling across thousands of miles of Pacific Ocean, creating an acoustic phenomenon that sounded like something mechanical or alien but was actually an animal singing. The AI found in minutes what marine researchers had been puzzling over for years, and in the Mediterranean, beneath the warm blue waters of the Bay of Naples, AI is now doing something even more remarkable, protecting the ruins of what was once the most luxurious resort destination in the ancient world. 2,000 years ago, the town of Baiae was where Roman power went on vacation. Julius Caesar had a villa there. Mark Antony had a villa there. Cicero wrote about it. The thermal springs that ran beneath the ground made it a natural spa, and the Roman aristocracy built heated pools, mosaic-tiled bathhouses, and pleasure palaces along its shores. Then the ground shifted, as Italian geology tends to do, and Baiae slipped beneath the Mediterranean. Today, the ruins of the ancient resort sit under 15 to 20 feet of water, still largely intact, still containing mosaics and marble columns and the foundations of buildings where the most powerful people in the ancient world once relaxed. The challenge of protecting this site underwater is immense. Water temperature, currents, biological growth, tourist divers, all of these things threaten to damage the ruins constantly. And communicating underwater is extraordinarily difficult. Electromagnetic signals do not travel through seawater. Acoustic signals scatter and distort. For years, the team responsible for protecting Baiae was essentially managing 435 acres of fragile ancient ruins, with almost no ability to monitor them in real time. Engineers at Sapienza University developed a network of acoustic modems and underwater wireless sensors capable of gathering environmental data and transmitting it to the surface continuously. And the key to making it work is AI. The AI algorithms running the system constantly adjust the network protocol in response to changing sea conditions. When the tide changes, when the temperature shifts, when currents alter the acoustic pathways between sensors, the AI recalculates the optimal route for the signal and reroutes it instantly. The result is a working underwater internet, monitoring a 2,000-year-old Roman city in real time, detecting the growth of damaging microorganisms before they can destroy the artifacts, tracking water chemistry changes that could accelerate deterioration, and allowing divers to communicate with each other and with the surface in a way that was previously impossible. Visitors can now swim through the ruins of Baiae with smart tablets that use augmented reality to overlay digital reconstructions of the buildings onto the actual submerged foundations. You swim through what looks like ruins, and the tablet shows you what the room looked like when Caesar might have walked through it. The technology developed to protect one Roman resort town has since spread to other archaeological sites across Italy, and then to salmon farms in Norway, and then to coral reef monitoring programs, and now to any aquatic environment where people need to gather data in conditions where conventional technology fails. This is the pattern that runs through all of these stories. AI and advanced scanning technology going places human beings cannot go, seeing things human eyes cannot see, finding answers that human researchers have been looking for across decades of work. A whale call identified in minutes from the bottom of the deepest trench on Earth. A hero's final act confirmed by a valve position on a wreck 12,500 feet underwater. A 975-meter Stone Age wall found on the floor of a sea that was dry land 11,000 years ago. A 2,000-year-old resort town monitored by artificial intelligence running through acoustic signals that no one thought could travel through water. And then there is the object in the Baltic, 60 meters wide, black and apparently burnt, sitting on top of the sediment rather than growing from the bedrock, surrounded by a 200-meter radius where electronic equipment fails without explanation, trailing a 300-meter impact scar across the seafloor, formally unclassified by science as of 2026, proven to be sitting in a body of water where we now know for certain that prehistoric human beings built kilometer-long stone structures before the sea swallowed their world. A 2024 study confirmed that the seabed is littered with bizarre, naturally occurring moraines and deposited rock formations that can easily trick standard sonar equipment. The Baltic Sea Anomaly is widely considered by geologists to be a remarkable, yet entirely natural glacial deposit rather than a crashed alien vessel. That is the official position. Natural, glacial, explained. As of early 2026, no peer-reviewed institution has issued a formal classification, leaving the site technically unresolved despite the added data. That is the actual status. Unresolved, still open, Still waiting for data that can answer the questions the divers raised when they touched the black, apparently burnt surface with their hands and felt ridges and right angles that do not match what a random pile of glacial rock is supposed to feel like. The magnetic field measurements from the 2025 expedition will be the key. If the object produces an anomalous magnetic signature, the equipment failures are explained, and the explanation is not geological. Rocks do not do that. Whatever does is either artificial or something science has not fully characterized yet in the specific deep-sea context. AI scanning has already answered questions that science carried for over a century. The engineers on the Titanic, the whale in the trench, the Roman city under the sea. Each of those mysteries had a clean answer waiting to be found, and the technology found it. The Baltic Sea Anomaly is the one that has not cracked yet. It has resisted every expedition, broken every instrument, and continued to sit 90 meters down at coordinates 61 degrees 22 minutes north, 18 degrees 26 minutes east, exactly where it has always been, unchanged, unexplained, and waiting for the scan that finally tells us what it is. When that answer comes, you will hear it here.